Hi, Castro. Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the special council meeting for today, March 21st at 9:30. We have a agenda before us. The first item on the agenda is adoption of the agenda. Councillor Silovitz, seconder, Councillor Shu, all those in favor? Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you. Disclosures of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof. Nobody is pecuniary interested. Mr. Clerk, scheduled business, item 3.1. Today we're going to start with a presentation on the 2031 Richmond Hill Municipal Housing Target Pledge. And we're going to start with a presentation by Maria Flores, Director of Policy Planning. So Maria, floor is yours.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and members of council. Next slide, please. So the government of Ontario, as you know, passed Bill 23, the More Homes Built Faster Act, in November of last year in order to facilitate the construction of 1.5 million new homes over the next 10 years. The main driver behind Bill 23 is the provision of housing at an accelerated pace, as well as affordable housing. So after the bill passed, a letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing was issued to 29 of the largest and fastest growing municipalities in Ontario, assigning each a housing target by 2031. Richmond Hill, as part of that list, was assigned a target of 27,000 new residential units to be built by 2031 as well. Next slide, please. The province requested that these same municipalities submit a housing pledge by March 22nd to demonstrate commitment to accelerating housing supply and to showcase strategies and actions to support housing. The staff report before you today, including the attachment 1 table, constitutes the City of Richmond Hill's 2031 Municipal Housing Target Pledge. In it, it notes that Richmond Hill recognizes the need to provide housing for our growing community, and the pledge demonstrates the city's commitment to undertaking initiatives that facilitate housing through complete communities and by streamlining and process improvements to accelerate it. Next slide, please. An important thing to note is that our existing centers and corridors, as identified in the council-approved city structure, were already planned to accommodate growth through residential intensification. As part of the OP update, new transit-supported mixed-use centers and major transit station areas were recently added to accommodate more growth, including some lands which were converted to residential, as well as lands under the minister's zoning order. In Richmond Hill, the question of whether we have enough land supply to meet the housing target is really not an issue. Next slide, please. The real challenge for Richmond Hill will be facilitating an unprecedented rate of growth and providing the services required. Based on the regional official plan, Richmond Hill's population is expected to reach about 322,000 by the year 2051. That's an increase of about 108,000 more people over the next 30 years, averaging approximately 36,000 each decade. Under the accelerated growth scenario, 2/3 of that forecasted increase would now take place in the first 10 years. Likewise, for the almost 14,000 new housing units forecasted by our CDC strategy between 2022 and 2032. The new housing target of 27,000 is almost double that original forecast in roughly the same time period. As noted in the staff report, the city does not construct housing, and there are, as you know, many external factors that are out of our control. In 2021, Richmond Hill had approximately 11,000 approved housing units for which building permit applications had still not yet been initiated. In the last 10-year period, the total number of residential building permits issued was less than half the number of units identified in the 27,000 housing target for the next 10-year cycle. Next slide, please. Notwithstanding the challenges of accelerated growth, our housing pledge shows that Richmond Hill has already been very proactive in its efforts to plan for growth and development and is committed to undertaking actions to help accelerate the provision of housing. The staff report outlines more than 30 current or planned initiatives that facilitate housing through complete communities and by streamlining the development process. Next slide. Richmond Hill's Housing Pledge describes these initiatives under 4 main categories. The first being affordable housing initiatives, such as our affordable housing strategy, the additional residential units policy and zoning bylaw, and an update to our housing needs assessment to consider inclusionary zoning or a community planning permit system. Next slide. The second category describes a series of planning initiatives and tools to support community building, complete community building and infrastructure, which are essential for balancing quality with quantity of development when it comes to increased growth. These include land use plans and policies like the OP, zoning standards through the comprehensive zoning bylaw, master plans and modeling for transportation, servicing, and stormwater management, and plans and guidelines related to parks, urban design, and climate resiliency. Next slide. The third category outlines development approvals and permitting process improvements designed to make the process quicker and more efficient, such as our end-to-end development services review and EnerGov development application tracking system, both of which were partially funded by grants from the province. In addition, we have also been doing ongoing digitization, streamlining, and process improvements in development engineering review, as well as the tree preservation bylaw permit process and our building permit process. Next slide. The fourth category encompasses other initiatives to support growth and continual improvement through corporate initiatives, like the strategic plan that helps us prioritize and also seek funding for major projects, capital budget forecast planning and strategies such as the development charges and community benefit charges bylaws, which help us recover costs from growth in order to help pay for growth. Next slide. So despite our best efforts, the staff report also discusses ongoing considerations and risks affecting Richmond Hill's timing and ability to implement initiatives in support of the housing target. These include matters related to Bill 23 that the province has yet to define or proclaim, such as definitions for affordable housing, which are essential for us to calculate the exemptions and the discounts to our charges. Also, our already limited staff capacity, time, and resources, which are now being diverted to adapt to the numerous legislative changes and reporting requirements, and the loss of revenue from municipal charges and fees, which help pay for infrastructure and services. The acceleration of housing, including affordable housing, will also depend on the province's role in helping municipalities through these changes and the development community's commitment to sharing affordability discounts with home buyers and following through with construction of affordable housing options. Next slide. So for next steps, the staff report recommends the following. The council receive and endorse Richmond Hill's 2031 Municipal Housing Target Pledge, that the mayor send a letter to the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing highlighting the pledge and request to consider further grant opportunities and ongoing municipal engagement, that a copy of the staff report, the council resolution, and the mayor's letter be sent to the minister by March 22nd, the deadline, which is tomorrow, and that a copy also be sent to the region and other area municipalities. That concludes the presentation for today. We're happy to take your comments or answer questions as needed.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Flores, and thank you so much to you and all the staff for the excellent staff report. It was very well written. The presentation today reflects that. And I would also add that the other staff reports relating to Bill 23 have also been really excellent. And I think Richmond Hill has done a very good job in responding to this from the moment that this happened. And that was the day after the election when I was taking my election signs down all the way to today. So thank you, everybody, for the work on this. And we're here today now to do, I guess, what was one of the last parts that we need to do in terms of this pledge. So I'll turn it back to council at this time. Councillor Davidson, would you like to move the recommendations at the end of your talk, or should we get somebody else to speak first? Okay, Regional Local Councillor DePaula.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to move our staff recommendations regarding this pledge. I just want to make sure that if we are making this statement that we are, we're truly giving our best efforts and making sure that we're doing something different than we had in the past to double our average number of homes being built. We have to change and do things differently. I don't think municipal governments have as much control over the output and the end product of homes actually being built and transferred as the province believes, but we need to do whatever we can, and to do so we'll need the province's help. Now, with the letter from the mayor going to the province, I hope there can be some other considerations that we need the province's cooperation The province has taken away a hard fought MTSA from us that can be developed definitely in the next 8 years. And they have to make a ruling there. They have indicated that they're going to change the way employment conversions happen. And they have to come out with the mechanism for that. I believe that local councillors are going to have control over that, but that's a real opportunity for Richmond Hill if we can do some employment conversions. I think we're going to have a lot of trouble with this pledge because you know, our 30-year plan almost gets us to this target, but it's all weighted in the second half. It's all in the next 10 to 15 years is just not as much growth as there will be, and it's all dependent on that subway. So we need the subway to start. We need that construction project to happen. It needs to be underway in order for Yonge and Highway 7 to achieve some of the units on this pledge. There's if that doesn't happen, then if Yonge and 7's off the table, it's going to be near impossible. So if we're making this pledge, it really has to be contingent on that Yonge North subway extension starting and happening in the next year or two, getting out to tender like the other subway projects have been. So really want to emphasize with the province that we need their cooperation, and we are making all our best efforts to make this happen, but we're going to need their help. The other thing is it's not 10 years now, it's 8 years. And the pledge that we're making today is that houses be built. In other words, transferred to homeowners in 8 years. So really, we've got the next 5 or 6 years to process building permits. 6 years in the next 6 years. So we've got to do about 4,500 approvals per year for the next 6 years to really make this happen. So that's way more than we've done in the past. But just want to ask through you, Mr. Mayor, to our planning commissioner, has the province given any indication about what they're doing with employment conversions and their ruling on our future MTSA at Gormley Go, or have they given us any indication or even a timeline of when they're going to get out all the implementation regulations for Bill 23?
To you, Mr. Mayor, no, we have no insight at this point in time. Certainly, those regulations will be quite influential moving forward in our OP update, as well as, of course, achieving the housing supply issue here. But there is a number of moving parts as being illustrated in the staff report, and as council is well aware, and we'll have to deal with them as they come, as those announcements come from the province.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I had another question. Was that my first thing? Okay, I've got a minute. So you mentioned the investigation of municipal surplus land as one of our efforts to increase housing supply. Is there any progress on that front? Is council expecting a report at some point for our owned municipal lands? Because we've got lands even on Yonge Street that we could get in there and really help to push the supply.
Through you, Mr. Chair. That is an action that's identified in our affordable housing strategy. I believe it's in the work plan to be initiated this year, and it will go through the Affordable Housing Committee and then to council I believe there should be a report back to that. It may be bundled with a few other items, but there is an intention to get started on that. Okay,
so that's good. That's going to be critical that we can make the best use of lands that we actually own. Okay, yeah, happy to support this pledge, and under the deadline for us to say we're going to do everything we can to make this happen and to hit this target. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll go to Councillor Silovitz, who will second it, and then to Councillor Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I will second. Thank you to Ms. Flores and to all staff for a very good report and an excellent presentation. I just want to make a couple of comments and I just have a couple of questions. I fully support what Regional Councillor DePaolo said. He hit all the points. No question about that. What I just want to say is that there are so many external contributing factors that are beyond our control here. So the province can give us the target of 27,000 houses by 2031. They could give us a target of 1,000. Doesn't matter. It's not us. We give the permits. We approve the proposals, but we don't build and we don't market. So it's up to the developers and the builders to actually build and market, and that's a whole other problem with regards to affordability and attainability. What is the market value of these, whatever is going to be built? Is it affordable? I don't have much faith that it is. And that's not on us. That's not on us. So I just wanted to make that point. And it's discussed very well in three parts of this report, specifically on page 4 or consecutive page 6. Another fundamental element to consider is that the city itself does not construct homes. It only facilitates the development in the building process. That's the key here, the absolute key. So with that in mind, I'd like to just ask through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Flores, has the province said anything about what they're going to do to us if we don't get that housing target done?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there has been no indication of what they would do. My understanding is it's treated as an aspirational target across the board. And that is something we mentioned in the staff report as a consideration and also in the mayor's letter. It's a clause that many of the other municipalities have included as well as part of their housing pledges or their communications.
Yeah, that's good. Aspirational, it's perfect. Thank you for that. It'll be interesting to hear from the province as we move through this. As you were saying, it's 8 years, it's really not 10. And do we reach that target or do we not? And then what happens? So the other question that I have is regarding the CAP, the collaborative application process. So either through you, Mr. Mayor, to Ms. Flores or to our commissioner. I can't see anything in this report that refers to what we've discussed in previous terms about a concierge in the planning department. Has that ever been instituted or something similar that streamlines the planning process and makes it easier for applicants?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we have what we call an A+ program, which is staff will operate out of the city manager's office to deal with those projects which we feel have an economic benefit or community benefit to the city. Notwithstanding that, however, under Bills 109 and 23, we now have a mandated timeline to process applications, and you will start to see applications come through the system on that accelerated timeline. So in terms of what we do and how fast we do it, those procedures are already in play.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. That's what I thought, and it's just another instance of what we as the municipality are doing in order to streamline and further building and construction of units within our municipality. So we're doing all we can. Let's hope the province does their bit as well, and that everybody on the other side of this does everything they can to build, to get our targets done, achievable, and to make these affordable. It's all very well to build 27,000 units, but if they're all going for just under 1 million or over 1 million, that's not affordable. It's a huge, huge concern. That's all, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you so much. Councillor Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And through you, has this municipality ever been asked to pledge to a provincial plan?
Through you, Mr. Chair, not to my knowledge. I mean, we typically do conformity exercises to legislation and the provincial plans, which we are required to conform to through our official plan and our policies. The pledge is something, at least in my career, that is new.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, I've tried to understand in the last few days what pledge means. And a pledge can mean anything from a solemn promise to a legal commitment guarantee. So I'm really nervous about the word pledge because I feel like it's ill-defined. And I'd like to know what happens if we don't sign the pledge is my first question. Go ahead through you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I haven't seen any indication as to what would happen. They have not, the province hasn't articulated any penalties. Again, the communications are quite encouraging and promoting to municipalities. They haven't said that there was going to be any sort of, I guess, they haven't indicated a penalty or action whatsoever if we don't do it. It has, I mean, most of the municipalities that I'm aware of have done the pledge, and the staff report, which is the pledge, has been worded to show our commitment to the actions that are current and planned and underway to support housing. So I'm trying to be very careful in the way we word the pledge to show our support for housing, because it is something we recognize is important. We do stay away from the word promise and absolutes. That's probably the best answer.
I don't want to put you, I don't want to put you on the spot. Also through you, Mr. Mayor, would you say that we would follow the guidelines of Bill 23, or the planning department or this municipality would follow the guidelines from the province for Bill 23? And we've been talking about it a lot without a pledge, that we would follow it because those are the rules that we abide by, and that a pledge is irrelevant, really.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we would conform to Bill 23 because we're obligated to legally as a municipality. I think what the pledge does is reinforce our commitment to our process improvements, the way we approach our strategies and plans as well. And the way Richmond Hill has typically done it is we do support housing through a complete community building approach, through growth management, efficient land use patterns, making sure there's a balance between good quality development, in addition to the quantity, which we're being asked to do and accelerate.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Mayor, can you tell me, is there any mechanism? I see our pledge will include a promise or a pledge, to me interchangeable, for it, including a range of housing types. Is there any power in this municipality to tell any developer what type of building or what they charge for a condo or what they rent it for? Do we have any true power to control a range of housing types?
Through you, Mr. Chair, through our planning policies and our zoning, we do influence and create parameters as to what housing types go in certain areas. For instance, we do have in our neighborhoods generally ground floor associated dwellings. Our intensification centers and corridors tend to be multi-residential units with mixed use. So in that way, we've always been doing that. With respect to the market price that developers choose to sell their homes for, we don't have very much ability over that. If we pursue things such as inclusionary zoning, we can set a few more parameters as to what is considered affordable, but it's largely out of our control.
Thank you. And can you tell me, has there been any, through you, Mr. Mayor, has there been any indication what will happen in 8 years if we haven't, or 9 years? It's 2032. we haven't made these targets, which we've continually discussed are beyond what we've done in the past and may be unobtainable. Is there any indication of what comes back to us in 2032? We've all pledged this and then it doesn't happen.
Through you, Mr. Chair, without a crystal ball, I think I would anticipate that we and many other municipalities across Ontario will be revisiting the progress of this housing target, the province in particular, whichever government is in place. And then we will probably be asked to update our policies and plans again. Again, it is an aspirational target. A lot of the things we do in long range planning are aspirational, but it moves us in the direction towards the vision and the goals of the municipality. So, I mean, in terms of the, I guess, the overall goal of achieving housing and more affordable housing options and a range of housing, it is something we are already on a path to do. That is the way our official plan is crafted and the processes that we have in place. What happens if we don't meet the target? I would like to say that we've at least moved the bar forward by 2032, but I can't predict.
Thank you. I think we all agree we need affordable housing. We need a range of housing in Richmond Hill, and I believe we're all committed to that. The staff are committed to that, and I appreciate your report. I think we're committed to that with or without a pledge. I know my own kids couldn't live in Richmond Hill if they wanted to, which means they're probably with me for a long time. But anyway, so I completely agree with the motivation for this bill. We do need affordable housing. But I don't also understand fully every corner of Bill 23 yet, and I'm not even sure it's all been revealed. And I find it very hard to pledge and promise something that is not something I can guarantee that we can make happen, and that I don't fully know. Would you say all parts of Bill 23 have been revealed? Sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. We understand fully the extent of Bill 23, or are there still parts trickling in?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there's still a lot of unanswered questions and pieces of Bill 23 that we're still waiting and pending to get clarification on.
Okay, thank you. I have to admit I won't be supporting this pledge because I can't promise to something, one, that is incomplete and I don't understand, and something that I truly believe we are working for anyway: affordable housing, various types of housing, growth in Richmond Hill to the best of our ability. Anyway, thank you very much. And thank you for the report. And I'm sorry you're the recipient of these driving questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Regional Local Councillor, Deputy Mayor Kent Chan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you very much, Director, for a presentation. It hasn't been an easy time, not just in Richmond Hill, but for all of Ontario. Let me state it up front. I'm all for building homes faster. I'm also for building transit faster and a number of other good things. Having said it, I appreciate my colleague who spoke in front of me or before me. As a legal trained person, we have a city solicitor here. I'm not trying to get into legalistic or technical pledge. It has to mean something. I still remember the inoculation. We all signed the first time Richmond Hill Pledge. We are committed to do something. So going back to my first statement, I'm committed to work with all parties, whether it's the province, whether it's all the industry in the development, to build homes faster. No problem. I can make that commitment anytime as in public now. The part I'm really frustrated is that we are asked, not just Richmond Hill, to pledge, as the director just said, including all of us, I believe, we don't have a crystal ball in front of us. And a number of things that, of course, I, for one, would like to see 27,000 units, new units, to be completed in 8 years. No doubt about it. However, given the record that we have been achieving the best we could for the staff and the number of uncontrollable factors beyond us, market situation and so on. We have done, even last year, not even 13,000 building units, which would be half of what is happening. I really want to say that we need to really proceed with care, notwithstanding myself and presume all my other colleagues are committed to do that. How to do the 27,000 units in 8 years is really a big challenge. So the question be raised about what's the consequence of not signing, and I gather we don't know. And what's the consequence of not meeting the target by 2031, assuming I'm still on council? Probably not. What would happen? Anybody could tell? I understand our mayor have an opportunity to meet with the Minister Clark. Was there any possibility, to the extent it can be shared, any kind of hint or things that can be shared, Mr. Mayor, on that? What if we don't meet the target in 2031? Not the pledge itself, but.
Okay, so the pledge did not come up in those discussions at all. We were talking about the concerns that we have with Bill 23 and the special council meeting we had about that staff report. I guess the only thing I could say, I mean, to add to what the staff has said, is that, you know, the province is asking for a collaborative approach to meet the targets that we all agree need to happen, or the result that needs to happen. You know, this is a bit of a leap of faith in some ways, but I think that the pledge itself and the way that the staff report has been ultra clear on, you know, we'll pledge to do our part, but we don't have control of the weather. So whether or not the pledge, you know, we can control what we can control. There are other parties that are our partners in this equation need to do what they do. If everybody does what they're supposed to do, there's a good possibility that we'll achieve the targets, but we only can control ourselves. I think my mother told me that one time. You know, you can only control your own behavior. So, you know, this is really what I believe the pledge is really all about. And no, Councillor, we didn't speak in that meeting about the pledge specifically.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for sharing that and shedding some light. It's quite true, as Mr. Mayor said, and also our director making the presentation. There's quite a number of things we don't have control of as a city, but I think we do have control on something. For example, perhaps maybe not today, but somehow we could sunset any zoning amendment that had been approved, bylaw amendment that had been approved, such as we already have a time limit on the demolition permit. If you got a permit, but you don't demolish your property by certain years, that permit render would be no longer useful. So perhaps we can look at that and help to give some incentive for applicants who receive bylaw amendments to build, because what bothers me is we still have 11,000 situations like that of units, not that. So hopefully that would do it. I know the time is only maybe 50 seconds, less than that. It kind of reminds me of almost a year ago when we were being requested by the province to sign the agreement in principle. Remember that, my colleagues? It's a year ago, and we are given a deadline April 29th. We also had 2 special council meetings just on that. And in the end, I think Richmond Hill had the courage, along with other municipalities, not to sign the AIP. A year later, or 11 months later, we still are not seeing anything being signed there. So the last, within the 9 seconds, if I could pose a question to the city solicitor through you, Mr. Chair, in what form or shape would council, would we like to be collaborative, which I totally support, have any particular potential from a legal standpoint, any ramification or not? I'd like to get that clearance through our solicitor, through you, Mr. Chair.
Through you, Mr. Chair, I can't really add anything to what Ms. Flores said in terms of the general approach of the pledge or how it's sort of been articulated by the province. Recognizing that we are creatures of the province and the province can legislate anything in terms of how it affects us.
Thank you. So in the spirit of collaboration, it's just like a kid in the family when my dad or mom say, you know, like jump higher or grow bigger, some things beyond my control, but I will try. Thank you very much.
Madam CA, did you have something to add?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I was just going to add the comment that in this pledge situation, we did not speak with the minister specifically about the pledge, but we did speak to him about the commitment to the 27,000 units, and that we were committed to doing everything possible to ensure that we changed our processes, increased or enhanced our policies, to make that process that much easier and accessible for those builders and developers to get their permit applications. But we did remind him, as council has said, that we can only go so far and that we're not the ones that actually put the shovel in the ground and build those units. And so the province themselves have to understand that they have some conversations with the development community to get those homes built faster. But what we're doing through the pledge and supporting the pledge that's in front of you today is committing to do our part under our control to ensure that the processes, policies, and applications are in place for those homes to be built faster. They recognize that we don't put that shovel in the ground, but that we're doing the pledges to do our part to make sure it can happen as best as possible.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else on a first round? Councillor Thompson.
Thank you. And through the mayor, I'd like to thank staff for putting together this report and presentation. And I do just want to echo what Ms. Jocelyn had said. This pledge to me is really just showing that we're committed to the undertaking of the initiatives that are outlined in the report. So in terms of how this will be judged down the road and what the consequences will be, well, to me, that's the voting public. They're going to look and say, okay, did we do everything that we can do? And they'll be doing the same thing with the provincial folks. They'll be looking at them and saying, did they do everything they can do? So I don't have a problem with supporting the pledge as written. You know, in the end, the consequences will fall on whichever government doesn't actually, you know, try and really commit to that undertaking. So those are my comments. Thank you.
That's an interesting perspective. I agree. Is there anybody else on this round? Okay, I may have to go to a second round. I've got a lot to say on this, unfortunately. So I want to start off by saying I'm in complete agreement with the outcome of this. And the outcome to me is building a community where there's enough housing for everybody, and the housing that we have and the variety of housing types, forms, and affordability ranges is there to accommodate everybody. That's what an inclusive community is about. I've never had a problem with that. But what I have a problem with, and I think I'm hearing this from my council colleagues, is I'm having a problem with Bill 23 itself. We've said that constantly, and we've done a very good job, I believe, in Richmond Hill at advocating for the concerns that we have with Bill 23. This pledge is wrapped up in Bill 23. So I understand the concerns that I'm hearing and the hesitation. With all due respect to Councillor Chan, I do think that the AIP for the transit-oriented community that we did not sign, and it will be coming back to council, by the way, in the next little while, is fundamentally different than this pledge. I mean, the pledge is we're going to do everything we can to do something that everybody agrees needs to be done. The AIP is a much more specific, legally binding agreement that the ramifications of that are quite enormous as well. But I want to just say that I think Richmond Hill, and this has been said, it's been said by staff, it's been said in the staff report that we are very well positioned in Richmond Hill to meet this pledge and meet the targets. I mean, okay, the timeline for these targets is pretty aggressive, but the problem that we're facing with housing affordability needs bold action. I agree with that. I don't think in Richmond Hill we need to change our OP. If I'm not mistaken, the OP will allow us to meet these targets. I don't think we need to be opening up any land that, that we don't already have open to residential development, on a general level, because we can already meet those targets. We've done many things. It was outlined quickly on one of the slides of all the things that we've done in the recent last little while that staff has done to help to streamline the planning process. We've done that. So we're already really well positioned to do the things we can do. The part that's remaining is the financial and other implications that we've all talked about ad nauseum about Bill 23. But in terms of the pledge itself, I wanted to read, there's a couple of paragraphs here in the staff report that I wanted to read that I think outline well what we're talking about here. And on page 11, it says, while the city is making efforts to respond to these risks, meeting the province's housing target cannot be achieved alone. The acceleration of housing will also depend on the province's willingness to help municipalities through these changes and the development industry's commitment to share affordability discounts with purchasers and follow through with construction of more affordable housing options. I think that says it all. And then finally, further, and this is on the bottom of page 12, furthermore, as noted previously, there are many factors contributing to housing supply that are simply beyond a municipality's control. While the city can ensure that intensification policies and affordable housing discounts are in place, a commitment from major landowners to follow through on setting aside and constructing more affordable housing will be crucial to the success of the More Homes Built Faster initiative. For instance, there are opportunities in Richmond Hill where the province can help expedite the provision of affordable housing from landowners in the transit-oriented community, which they've not done yet. Sorry, that's my words, not the staff's. Or on its own land holdings near the Newkirk GO station. If partnership opportunities arise, the city would be willing to work collaboratively with the province to help advance such initiatives and ensure that complete communities or community elements are incorporated. See, to me, that whole however many page staff report can be summed up, I think, in those two paragraphs. We need affordability in Richmond Hill. There's no question. And I'm hearing that more and more and more from our residents. And Bill 23 in its present form isn't going to get us where we want to go. The affordability, the cost situation with the municipality, with the whole idea of growth paying for growth needs to be addressed. And we made that very clear in several different occasions to the provincial government. And I think in the meeting that we had, in fairness with Minister Clark, I think that message was received. I believe that to be the case. Whether or not the changes come from it is going to be an issue, but even that will change our ability to create the result that we want to create. Because if we don't have enough money to put in the infrastructure, it's going to affect the timing of the building of the houses. And so this is very much a collaborative effort. In my mind, the pledge says what we are going to do and what we're committing to doing, which we're mostly already doing. The other stakeholders in this process need to step up to the plate. So I'm happy to sign this, but I do respect and understand the hesitation that my colleagues have on this, but I still think that this is a sign that we will do what we need to do. And I think it also sends a message to the public that we will do what we can do. The province and the development industry and the other stakeholders need to do what they're going to do. And that to me is leadership. So those would be my comments. Is there any appetite for a second round? Councillor Davidson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I absolutely agree with everything you said about affordable housing, and we need diverse housing and we need different types of housing. And I want people to feel Richmond Hill is a really great place to live, which it is, and that they can afford to live here. So the housing affordability, the increased supply, I am 100% behind that. But I am a new councillor, and maybe I'm taking this too personally, but I find it really hard to pledge and promise something that we all agree there's all these buts. So of course we will carry through Bill 23, as is our directive from the province. Of course we want to increase the supply as much as we can. I guess my problem is I'm really hung up on the word pledge. What are we agreeing to do that we weren't already going to do anyway? So I wholeheartedly want to see more affordable housing here. And I do agree that Richmond Hill is committed to that. And maybe I'm making it too personal to say that I can't promise something I don't know I can keep. So that's still my hesitation, and thank you.
Okay, sorry, is there, Councillor Silvitz?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. If I may, through you to Councillor Davidson, I think if we look at it, as Ms. Flores and City Manager was saying, it's our pledge as a city and as a municipality that we are going to do everything we can to ensure that this takes place. Yes, there are all the external factors, which we have no control over, but what we do have control over is what we do as a city and how we work towards doing everything we possibly can. So to me, that's what the pledge is. And I'm happy with that. I'm satisfied with that with myself and with the city, because I believe that we absolutely are and shall be doing everything we possibly can. I just wanted to say that, if that helps you, if it gives you just a little bit of a different view of that. That to me is what the pledge means. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, Councillor Liu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the report. Just to give my colleagues a peace of mind, I just look on the CBC website on November 2nd, 2022. When the Minister of Housing, Municipal Affairs, Steve Clark, was being asked that is there any penalties, and he stated that at that time there won't be penalties for communities. He only wanted to to have every community to join the province. So I agree that this is somehow, to me, is a mission impossible. In 8 years, 27,000. It's I don't think anyone can achieve that. Just imagine, every city has that target, and it's going to be constructions everywhere, and that's not possible. But anyways, I think this is more a symbolic gesture that we all doing a collaborative effort, more than a commitment of actually deliver that 27,000. So yeah, thank you very much. Just want to put my 2 cents out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. That's good information. Regional Local Councillor DePaulo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to quickly add, in moving this pledge, I only speak for myself personally, and I'm looking at our situation here. We're not saying, well, this is impossible, but we'll pledge it anyways. We're saying we are doing it, everything to make it possible for the building community to come through and provide 27,000 homes in Richmond Hill in the next 8 years. And that's all that's expected of us. We have an official plan update process that we're in the middle of that clearly allows for, with our centers and corridors and the intensification policies that we're looking at implementing, we are creating the framework to make it very not only possible but achievable. We are pledging to do our part as a municipality. We are not going to go out with hammers and build these homes ourselves, and we're not going to be buying land and marketing homes and selling homes. We are providing a municipal legislative framework that allows for the construction of 27,000 homes. I think we are well situated to make this pledge. It's a firm commitment. It's our staff is committed. Our entire planning process allows for this. There is a growth documents that have been prepared and taken years. We're at the end of a 4-year process where we are saying, yes, this can happen. This is where those homes will go. This is how we will help you. We are ready, willing, and able to process applications. And if the building community comes forward, then it's done. So our pledge on our part, the city of Richmond Hill is ready, willing, and able to allow for the building of 27,000 homes by 2031. And I think we can confidently make this pledge and quite comfortably say that we've done everything that we can, and we'll continue. We're pledging to continue to work with all the other stakeholders and partners to make this happen. Thank you.
Regional Local Councillor Chan.
Yes, thank you. The opportunity to add a few more words, Mr. Chair, and building on my colleague who spoke in front of me, I would respectfully request in the spirit to show that the city of Richmond Hill, as I said in my first round, for one, I'm hearing we are all committed to building more homes faster to the extent possible within the control that we have. So I'm requesting a recorded vote so that to show the province that this city is showing leadership committed under this big family of Ontario. We are doing our part to show commitment. And this is also meaning that we honestly hope our family head, the province of Ontario, will also committed to provide more financial certainty to help us both on council and our staff, and also some incentive to the development industry and all parties involved to make that happen. If it does happen, it's hallelujah. It's good for everyone. Thank you. So I'm requesting a recorded vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, Councillor Tree.
Okay, thank you so much, Mayor. Through you, Mayor, to the colleagues, all council members, also our staff. Because as a city as a whole, I think the purpose of this pledge is just seeing or demonstrating the city will work with the Ontario province to try to our best to get this affordable housing move forward and get our new immigrants or new generations has more affordable housing. The attention is positive. We are trying best to achieve that target. I think a lot of the councillors already mentioned that there is no specific penalties. I'm assuming the province is trying to say, please do your best as well. This is from what I got here as well. So as a city, municipal levels, we committed to do our best to provision those type of the housings or apartments or condos to the residents or potentially more new immigrants, or also our new generations as well. When they return from the university, coming to society, that they need more housings to live with. From my personal view, I support this pledge. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I'll just finish off. So this has been a great discussion, and I thank all of my colleagues. Clearly, our homework has been done, and all of the perspectives here have been well reasoned and thought out, and I appreciate that very much. To Councillor Liu's point about this, I think you said that this is kind of mission impossible, and I agree with you. I mean, this is really anybody that I've spoken to, the chances of getting 1.5 million houses built in Ontario in the time frame that's provided is we'll call it aspirational to say it positively, but it's going to be very, very hard, if not impossible. But I guess the thing is that, and again, I'd like to reiterate that I wouldn't be in support of this if I thought there was no chance that we couldn't do what we were supposed to do in order to set the stage for this to happen. And I'm completely confident that we have already done a lot of the stuff. We're going to do a lot of the other stuff that will set the stage for the housing that we've committed to be built. So at this, it is a symbolic gesture, but at the same time, it's also a real gesture. But I think, as I said earlier, it shows that it sends a message to everybody that we're serious about this. This is a serious problem, and we are not taking this lightly. And I think that's really why I don't mind signing this. And I got to tell you that when I first heard about the pledge way back as this Bill 23 was evolving, I was very concerned about it, but I'm starting to understand it better, and I'm very comfortable to sign the pledge right now. I think at the end of the day, the way I look at this is this: the target is the target, 1.5, 1.2, 1.1, whatever. It doesn't matter what the target is. The point is, if somebody is living in the community that they want to live in with the income situation that they have, and they're there comfortably, they're not going to care. Their satisfaction on living in their home is not going to be more or less knowing that the overall target of 1.5 was made. The point is that the people that this will help will be living in their homes and living in a place where they want to live. This is about our kids. It's about, people wanting to retire, but they want to stay in the community that they're in and downsize so that they can be close to the people that they love and their doctors and so on. It's about new homeowners. It's about new Canadians. It's about all kinds of different people from many different walks of life. This problem isn't specific to only one group of people that aren't having the housing choices that they need. It is affecting all of us, and it's going to affect more of us if nothing gets done. So I think urgent action is needed. As I said, I think Bill 23 still has some very significant concerns, and part 3 of this the motion that we're about to consider is talks about, we still have problems that need to be addressed with Bill 23. So we're not taking our foot off the gas pedal, and we shouldn't. I know the big city mayors at AMO are still, putting towards their lobbying efforts to make sure that the objectionable parts about Bill 23 get addressed. And I do have some confidence that will happen. But, again, we've done our part on that, and it'll be up to the province to make those changes. So anyway, thank you, everybody, again, for the comments. I respect what has been said here. And I think that this is something that we should get behind. But I also understand the concerns that have been stated here today as well. So, Mr. Clerk, I think that exhausts the first round. We have a recorded vote.
Thank you. Pardon me. Through the chair, voting on the motion moved by Regional Local Councillor DePaulo, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. Regional Local Councillor Chan.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Tree.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Sullivan.
Yes.
Thank you. Regional Local Councillor DePaula. Thank you. Councillor Liu.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor West.
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Davidson.
No.
Thank you. Councillor Hsu.
Yes.
Thank you. And that motion carries only.
Okay, thank you so much. This brings us to the last part, which is adjournment. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Silovitz. Oh, all right. I'm just testing to make sure you're paying attention, and that was excellent, Mr. Clerk. Seriously. Okay, confirmatory bylaw. Councillor Silovitz. Yes. Regional Local Councillor Chan. All those in favor? And motion to adjourn. Councillor Silovitz, Councillor Liu. All those in favor? Okay, that carries. Thank you so much, everybody, and have a great day.